Today we'll look into some more hooks. The first one is useRef, okay, and another one is useContext, and then we'll look into the custom hooks, what they are and how they are used. So let's start with the useRef hook first. So what this useRef hook does it provides a reference to any of the DOM element. So let's suppose we have the a web page like this, and we have an input field, and let's say I have a button, and on click of this button what I want is that whenever this button is clicked, the focus is again set to this input field. So now what I can do, I can use this useRef hook to access this input field directly. And whenever I change the value in this input field, the whole page is not re-rendered, the component is not re-rendered, and the value, if I want to change it, I can change it. So let's see how we can create a reference. So we write some variable const, say reference. I'm writing ref. You can write anything, and then the syntax is useRef. So initially, what I'm doing, I'm just giving it null. So initially we have created this ref, but it is not pointing to any of the DOM element. Now say we'll be having this input field, right? So in input field, we slash input, and then here what you can do, you can give the reference of this while creating the input field to this, okay? So now what it does is this, when this input field is created, we are assigning the reference of this input field. Okay, so this input field is assigned. This use ref will hold uh, a reference to a actual DOM element. And what I can do is when I'm creating a button, this button is okay. So on click of this button, I can write a function, or say I'm writing it here only for example right now. So what I want is I want to access this input field and set the focus. So to access this, always remember we use ref, whatever the name is, dot current. So this will give me the current value of that input field. So I can write here ref dot current dot focus. Okay. So now what it will do, it will on click of this button, it will set the focus on this input field. Now if I want to change the value of some DOM element, so I can do the same using the, say I have created another reference dot current, and I can give whatever value I want. Now what this statement will do, it will change the value of the DOM without re-rendering the component. Now let's see the second hook, that is use context. So this use context is used to share the data with among different components. So let's see, we want to share some data. We have some data, and we have different component. Component one, then we have component two, component three. Now suppose what I want is I want to share this data among all these components. Then I can use context. Another way is to use props. If you don't want to use props and you want to have some global data that you want to share among different components, then we can use this use context. So to use this use context, what you have to do is first create a context. We create a context, then we provide the context, and then we can use the context. So let's see how this does. how, let's see an example. So suppose we want to create a theme component, okay, and this theme context, and this theme context will be shared among different components, and they can make the theme using this theme context only. So if it is we are passing some value gray, so all components will use that value gray. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll create a const theme context and we simply write create context. Okay. So now we have created the theme context. So the first thing we have done here. Now what we have to do, we have to provide the context. So always remember when we want to provide the context, so we have to wrap the component within this theme context. So suppose I have a component F1 and I want to use this theme context. So what I have to do is I have to write theme context and provide some value. The value I'm providing is blue. Okay. And I will close this theme context. And within this, I'll write the component F1. Suppose app2 also I want to use theme context. This value will be shared among these two components. So the second part is also done. Theme context dot provider. I will write dot provider, sorry. Okay. So this is how it will be used. Okay, so this thing will be theme context dot provider. I'll have to write it because it is providing the value to these two components. And then I'll write the value whatever I want to do. Okay, so we have done two things. We have created the context, we have provided the context. Now what we want to use this value in our app component. So we'll be having some component, say app1. Okay, we have to write const theme is equals to use context and this theme context. So now we can use this theme. It will have the value. Okay, the value will be blue and we can use it in our app component. So theme will be now blue. Its value will be blue. So these are the two hooks that we have looked so far. Let's see another hook. The third hook. The third is we'll look into the custom hook. What are custom hooks? Custom hooks are basically you can create your own hooks and you can use them in any component. And uh, the custom hooks may have many other hooks inside them. So let's see a simple example. So suppose we want to create a hook manage counter. Okay, manage counter. We want to create this hook, and in manage counter, what we'll be having, we'll be having a state, say counter, count value. Okay, and then increment, decrement. Okay, so let's see how we can use it. We have this function component, function manage counter. Okay, it may take some initial value or we can give it default to 0. Initial value 0 if not provided. I can create a state const count and a function set count is equals to use state. Okay, I'm giving initial value to initial value passed to this function. Okay, now I have done this. Now, what I can have is another thing. I can have a increment. So I write const increment, the set value. What it will do is it will just increment the value and return increment the value p dot count is equals to p dot count plus one. Okay. And similarly, I can have some decrement, const decrement set value p p dot count p dot count minus one. Okay. And what I can do from this custom hook, I can return all of these things. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm returning the value of the count and increment and decrement. Now in my functional component, say I have a functional component app, I can use all these value. So I can write const count increment decrement is equals to simply this manage counter. Manage count, and then I'm giving some initial value, say 6. Okay. So this manage count will return me three things: is count, increment, and decrement. And I can use it to uh, set the value of the count or increment the value of the count or decrement the value of the count in my app component. So custom hooks are basically you can write anything, any reusable code that you want many components to use. So it will it will be easier for you to manage your code because you now have a reusable code. So you don't need to write the same thing again and again. So thank you.